Good morning, everybody. Welcome to week 12. Woo! We are getting so close to the end. I am going to talk a little bit about what's going on this week and, of course, preview what's coming up. The first thing, of course, is the schedule, as usual. We, as I mentioned, are in week 12 right now, which means we really only have a couple more weeks and then it's finals. So this week is another work week, very much like last week. So there's not a lot of new things going on, but we are now working on, once you get back your feedback from your draft for the FAR, of course, you will be finalizing that. Now the final version of the FAR is not due until the end of next week, but we are going to be working on your presentation, getting started with that. So this week you're going to turn in two things: the PowerPoint, just the PowerPoint for the FAR presentation. You don't have to use PowerPoint if you prefer to use Google Slides or something like Prezi that's housed fully online. That's certainly fine, but you want your visual that's going to go with your presentation. That needs to be submitted by the end of this week. And then next week, of course, you'll turn in the video. So you've got the draft of the FAR already in, hopefully, knock on wood. You'll get your feedback, you make changes, turn in the final version next week. This week, you want to complete the PowerPoint or whatever you're using for your visual for the FAR presentation. The presentation is literally the same content. There's nothing new. There's no new research. You can put new stuff in there if you really want to, but you certainly do not have to do that. The other assignment that's due this week, we talked a little bit about last week, is you're going to be creating a resume and a cover letter. And that's the last assignment that you're going to revise and then include in the final portfolio, which is the one that's due at the end of week 14. So there's a lot of moving parts, but you got this. All right. So let's take a look at the module, because the presentation is a new assignment, and so is the essentially so is the resume and cover letter. So let's take a look there in the modules, and we can close week 11. All right, so for week 12, let's hop into the learning materials. As usual, there's a link back to our textbook online, or the PDF version, but there's no new assignments this week, but you may need to refer to it. So feel free to use that. The main things for your new learning will be the guide to the formal analytical report and presentation. You've already seen that a couple of different times, but I'm going to go ahead and go over it just because of the part of it that is the presentation. All right, so when you get to the presentation stuff, remember, it is essentially the formal analytical report, okay? So nothing terribly crazy. I do have some things here that will help you specifically with the presentations. This one right here talks about how to present analytical information. So do take a look at those if you have not seen those already. Those are there for you. So nothing terribly new, but you've got some additional resources there. Then we get into the new learning for this week, and this is new. So what are chronological and functional resumes? Should I use a functional resume? These are both links that you should read. And then you have some video resources, mostly about, well, one video resource and then one visual resource about drafting. What is a rough draft? And this will also help you as you get your feedback back on the rough draft and move into the final version. So take a look at both of those. And then, of course, that's it. That's all that's new for the learning materials. In terms of the assignments, you've got links to both of those. Here's the presentation, the link to turn in the PowerPoint, and the link to turn in your resume and cover letter. So I'm going to go over both of those assignments in a little bit more detail. So for the FAR presentation, you're going to present your formal analytical report. You're going to have a title slide, clean slides with visual appeal. You want to avoid excessive wording on the slides, avoid excessive use of animation. All visuals and videos must be cited in APA. And then, of course, there's a references side. So there's no minimum or maximum number of slides, although you'd have to have at least 3 because you got to have a title and a reference and something in between. But you want to keep your slides very clean, very simple, and it's better to have a lot more slides with less on them than it is to have like hardcore, I'm going to write out everything I want to say in my presentation. Please do not do that. That's bad PowerPoint. Like I said, you are able to turn in other things. Let me make sure I set this up to where you could turn in a link. It does require you to upload a file. If you were using Google Slides or Prezi, you could put it in the comments and just upload something. Or maybe I'll go and I may change that. We'll see. But if you do want to use Google Slides or Prezi, that's certainly fine. PowerPoint is really the industry standard though, so it doesn't hurt to use the old-fashioned thing. But that's where you will turn that in. And then the next one, the next one is the resume and cover letter. So this one we haven't really talked about in great detail yet, but here's what you're doing. You're going to write your current resume, okay? Current resume, absolutely up to date, what you would normally use, using good information. You are also going to find a job advertisement that you may or may not be already qualified for. So in your little portfolio, you're going to have the APA cover page. The next page, you're going to share that job advertisement, where you found it, and then a brief statement, or it can be above it, a brief statement of how you found it and why it's relevant. So is it a now job or is it a later job? If it's a later job, then your cover letter may have some imagination in it. So your cover letter is going to be standard business format that would be appropriate for the job in the ad. And of course, like I said, if you're doing something that you're not technically qualified for, in the cover letter, you could talk about degrees you have not yet earned. Way back in the beginning, we thought about, what else do I need to do in terms of schooling to get my eventual job, et cetera, et cetera. So you can certainly do that. But your one-page resume needs to be a now document. You will have a references page because you're going to cite the job ad where you found it, and any research that you did to help you along the way. So for example, if you weren't sure whether to use a chronological or a functional resume and you did some extra research on that, include those sources. You won't have them cited in the document. It's a little bit different than normal, but do cite them at the end. So it's really only going to be 4 pages plus however long it takes to print the ad, to copy and paste the ad in. Sometimes those job advertisements can get a little bit long, so that may take up more than 1 page. But your cover page, your cover letter, your 1-page resume, and your references page, none of those should be more than a page. Okay, so minimum 5-page document, could be a little bit more if the job ad is super long. So those are your marching orders for the resume and cover letter assignment. And again, this one is one that I will give you feedback on, and you will have a chance to make changes to it and include it in that final portfolio. Don't forget that final portfolio, you have everything else back that you need to go ahead and start creating that. So if you want to look ahead, the information for that is in the week 14 materials. So if you do want to take a look ahead at that, you certainly can. And then the final exam, we'll talk about when we get a little bit closer. All right. So that's really it. There's not a whole lot of new stuff going on. I am currently working on a video for my class that I'm taking that is about cover letters. So I think I have to have that done. Oh, I don't have to have it done this week, but if I get it done this week, I will share it with you ahead of time. And even if I don't, I'll still share it with you so that you can use it to make any adjustments when you do your revision. All right. So as usual, please reach out if you have questions. Please reach out if you have not turned something in before you turn it in. Please, if something's late. All right. End of rant. I know it's not a very heavy rant, but it's also a Monday morning. So I haven't even had my whole first cup of coffee yet. So happy week 12. I hope it's a good one for you guys. I'm around if you need me. Take care, everybody.